Hello and welcome viewers to my channel and to my short video where I explain why India-China nuclear war will not happen and why China will lose in a nuclear conflict with India. I analyze the challenges and threats and the latest geopolitical developments with regards to India. I request my friends to watch this video in full so that you understand the long-term geopolitical games. The nuclear war aspect is dealt with in the second half of my video. I will soon be uploading another video to talk about how a conventional war between India, China and Pakistan is going to pan out and how well India does in a two-front war situation. India is the only country facing two nuclear-armed enemies at its border, namely China and Pakistan. India is a very vibrant democracy and a civilization that has stood many millennia, and as a home of spirituality, philosophy, science, knowledge and wisdom, it has withstood the test of time. Southeast Asia has deep historic ties with India, which is evident by the numerous Hindu and Buddhist cultural sites spread across the lands from Burma to Korea and Japan. Historically, India was the engine of global growth, according to nearly 67% of world's GDP at one time. Presently, India is poised to reclaim its lost status and re-emerge as a center of knowledge, science and spirituality. India's soft power uniting Southeast Asia is giving cold sweats to the hegemonic ambitions of China and Pakistani dreams of an Islamic world order. An atheist communist China sees this growing Indian influence as a threat. The Islamic Republic of Pakistan hopes to spread an Islamic world order with nuclear-capable Pakistan becoming a caliphate. It is paradoxical how a communist China, which suppresses religion, especially Islam, uses Pakistan, the cradle of global jihadis, to prevent India's rise. The radicalized Pakistani army is so much in sync with the notion of jihad that it indoctrinates and breeds terrorists, using the money, weapons and technology from China to destabilize India through direct and indirect means. Though their friendship is opportunistic and convenient, the threat of two nuclear-armed anti-Hindu nations to India is very clear and present. My video dwells upon how well is India defended against this threat, strategically and militarily. I would like to give a perspective on the geopolitics without dwelling too deep to keep this video short. Chinese strategic interest is to become a hegemon in the Asian continent and even the world by replacing the United States of America. Chinese companies have made a number of strategic investments in Central Asia and Africa to control its vital resources such as rare earth metals, in which it already is the world's largest producer. In the long term, it can and intend to monopolize these resources. Rare earth metals are so vital in cutting edge and future technologies that whoever controls these resources controls the world. In order to control these resources, China uses debt trap diplomacy, sabotage economic activities of nations and companies, and then making hostile takeovers, undermining political system, using corruption and even blackmail, and even threats by projecting military power. Chinese access to these lands are presently through the narrow straits of Malacca, the open ocean or the land route through Russia and Europe. It has wade through a host of unfriendly navies near Malacca and the US Navy, which effectively patrols the world's oceans. Projecting military power to these distant parts of the globe is only possible with land access to the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal Sea, both of which are in India's sphere of influence. It is presently constructing two deep sea ports, one at Gwadar in Pakistan overlooking the Arabian Sea, and the other at Kapiu at Rakhine state of Myanmar overlooking the Bay of Bengal. Gwadar gets frequent visits of Chinese submarines, and the infrastructure, such as roads, railways and airports, is expected to be completed in another 2 years. The $7.3 billion Kapi port is expected to be fully operational by 2025, if not earlier. Once these ports are operational, China will deploy its two aircraft carriers that it has, the Liaoning and the Shandong in the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal. The Kapi Special Economic Zone has a $1.5 billion oil terminal connecting to Kunming, China. Once the pipeline is completed, China no longer have to depend on the Straits of Malacca. It can use the ports to sustain a large fleet of PLA Navy ships and aircraft carriers in the Bay of Bengal. The carrier fleet can then be refueled and stocked through the port and can use the fleet to open up new lines of conflict with India. The port of Gwadar is also being developed to sustain a large Chinese naval fleet in the Arabian Ocean. With PLA Navy surrounding India, Indian island territories will no longer be safe. Chinese Navy have been steadily increasing amphibious landing attack ships and has even developed autonomous marine vehicles which can quickly capture island territories. The PLA Navy has a third aircraft carrier under construction, and another 6 carriers are expected to join the fleet by 2030. Gwadar Port in Pakistan is connected to China through the $60 billion China-Pakistan Economic Corridor or CPEC project, which passes through the area of Gilgit-Baltistan of India, which is under illegal occupation of Pakistan. Once these infrastructure plans are completed, China can then force the smaller Southeast Asian countries to fall in line and even blackmail India by threatening to occupy the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Currently, the only nation capable of unsettling the Chinese plans is India. India can at any time take back Gilgit-Baltistan, part of Kashmir, and strangle the CPEC. India's engagement with Myanmar, whom it shares a border and deep historic and cultural ties, can also become a problem for Chinese influence. China wants to keep the territorial disputes with India alive till it can operationalize these plans. It intends to blackmail India by threatening to cut off the Andaman and Nicobar Islands for its access through CPEC. China is pursuing false claims on Indian northeast state of Arunachal Pradesh and keeping its border with India unsettled to sustain this bold ambition. Indian northeast region is connected to the rest of India through a narrow strip of land, only 22 kilometers wide, known as the Siliguri corridor near Dokalam. China hopes to cut off India at the Siliguri corridor and occupy Indian northeast. It can then access the Bay of Bengal through the Chittagong port in Bangladesh or through the Kathmandu port in Myanmar, both of which are walking distance from India's northeast borders. Grabbing the small chunk of land from Bangladesh or Myanmar will be a walk in the park for China, with its proven tactics of depth trap diplomacy or salami slicing. Chittagong port is barely 30 kilometers from Tripura and 50 kilometers from Mizoram. In order to fulfill these plans, China has to prevent India from taking back its territory of Gilgit-Baltistan from under Pakistani occupation. India's recent actions, such as abrogation of Article 370 and creation of the Union Territory of Ladakh, and the success of Indian security forces in crushing cross-border terrorism, has stabilized Kashmir. China fears that these actions will help India in moving ahead and retake Gilgit-Baltistan, and hence the recent intrusion into Ladakh. Controlling Ladakh can disrupt the Indian state of Kashmir. China will attack India at Ladakh and Dokalam once the deep sea ports of Gwadar and Kathmandu are completed and the aircraft carrier battle groups are in place on both the seas. China already have a presence in the Indian Ocean and controls the Hambantota port in Sri Lanka. It also massively expanding its navy for further deployment into the Indian Ocean. India will need at least 3 aircraft carriers to strengthen its defenses, and India must also put in place missile defense shields and coastal defense batteries around island territories. Also, the development of 800-kilometer BrahMos missile and hypersonic systems must be fast-tracked to keep the balance of power in its favor. The Chinese threat is very real for India. Also, India and US must engage with Myanmar to prevent it from allying itself with China. China is constantly testing India's ability to defend Dokalam and Ladakh through military build-up and frequent intrusions. So far, India is able to keep the Chinese in check. Nevertheless, their game plan is to strike at an opportune moment. China intends to create this opportunity by opening multiple fronts of conflict in the Indian border and using Pakistan to draw India to a war and strike at a weak moment. It hopes to create sufficient attrition to the Indian military through an Indo-Pak war so that it can overwhelm India with its conventional forces. Pakistan is supplied with all kinds of weapons and ammunition by China to meet this end. This also begs the question why China is looking for a conventional battle and not a nuclear one. What prevents it from starting a nuclear war? How well is India defended, and if ever India can survive the odds of a simultaneous two-front nuclear war? Let us compare the capabilities of both the nuclear forces and understand why China fears the nuclear game and will always look for a conventional win. Different international studies estimate the total nuclear weapons China have at around 290 numbers that can be delivered through a variety of short-range and long-range ballistic missiles such as SRBMs, MRBMs and ICBMs, also cruise missiles and submarine-launched ballistic missiles, SLBMs. Its main missile systems consist of at least 200 Dongfeng series, DF-21, 21A, 21B, 21C and D, SRBMs with ranges from 600 to 2,200 kilometers and 600 kilogram payload. 28 numbers of DF-26 missiles with ranges of 3,500 kilometers and 1,800 kilogram payload. 31 numbers of DF-31A missiles with 11,000 kilometers range and 1,800 kilogram payload and 3 megaton warheads. 20 numbers of DF-41 missiles with 13,500 kilometers range with up to 10 MIRV, that is multiple independent re-entry vehicle warheads. 30 numbers of DF-5A, 5B and 5C with 13,000 kilometers range. These are silo based and can also carry 5,000 kilogram payload. 72 numbers of Julang series JL2 SLBMs with 8,500 kilometers range and 2,800 kilogram payload. Also 500 numbers of Hongnyo HN3A series cruise missiles with 3,000 kilometers range. These are subsonic missiles at 0.8 Mach and fly at 20 meter altitude and with 400 kilogram payload. That is, the total nuclear capable missiles of China is 881. Now the International Panel for Fissile Material estimates China's total fissile material stockpile at 14 metric tons of enriched uranium and 2.9 metric tons of plutonium. That is a total of 16.9 tons. The largest nuclear yield China has achieved has a yield of about 5 megatons of TNT. The largest delivery system can carry a 5-ton weight fusion warhead, which translates to 8.4 megaton yield of TNT with about 150 kilogram of fissile materials. This is the best estimate. If China were to arm all its surface ballistic missiles and submarine-launched ballistic missiles fully, it would only have enough fissile material to arm about 200 out of these 880 missiles. That is only about 22% of its nuclear delivery systems. A 10 megaton nuclear warhead can cause maximum damage at a radius of 15 kilometers from the center. Initial radiation levels will also be high within this lethal blast radius or thermal effect radius. Similarly, a 1 megaton warhead's lethal blast radius is around 6 kilometers. Around 75%, that is 700 numbers of Chinese nuclear missiles, can carry only 400 to 600 kiloton warheads. These can only be used for tactical strikes at important installations. This in no way affects India's warfighting ability. If the Chinese were to use up all their 16.9 tons of fissile material to strike India, it will not affect India's second strike capability, as India has a nuclear triad in place and all its assets are spread far and wide. Even if China uses the combined MRBMs, ICBMs and SLBMs, that is around 200 numbers, that can be armed with the available fissile material stockpiles on India, they will have to penetrate India's ballistic missile defense system without getting intercepted. India has a robust two-tier ballistic missile defense system consisting of Prithvi air defense, which can intercept at altitudes of 50 to 80 kilometers and ranges up to 2,000 kilometers, and advanced air defense system for altitudes of 15 to 30 kilometers. Prithvi defense vehicle capability is being increased to intercept enemy missiles above 150 kilometers altitude and 5,000 kilometers range. The AAD, or Advanced Air Defense System, can also intercept cruise missiles. India has also demonstrated anti-satellite capability by a hit-to-kill intercept at an altitude of 274 kilometers. India has sufficient PAD and AAD vehicles to intercept Chinese missiles, and more are in production. An airburst nuclear weapon need to be exploded below 15 kilometers altitude to cause insignificant damage. Indian PAD and AAD system is capable of intercepting missiles above 15 kilometers altitude with a probability of intercept of 99.8%. Even if they surpass the defense system, the damage cannot be more than 16 kilometer radius from the impact center. China cannot play such an endgame with India because it will then have no deterrence against the United States and other enemies. The US has 50 to 100 megaton warheads and 50 times larger arsenal. China will then be a sitting duck for any of its enemies. Even a single United States carrier battle group would be enough to ensure Chinese destruction. A nuclear war with India would be an unwinnable situation for China with no gains achieved. On the other hand, Pakistan can be completely destroyed by India because the furthest point in Pakistan is only 400 kilometers from India, and all its military assets are very concentrated because of its small size. It also has no ballistic missile defense. The Indian Air Force would be sufficient to cripple Pakistan. Pakistani ballistic missiles could also be intercepted within Pakistani airspace. once the S-400 systems, which India has procured from Russia, are deployed. Only two nuclear powers, USA and Russia, can be considered to have a complete nuclear deterrence against nuclear nations because of the size and yield of their arsenal. India-China nuclear war can only cause temporary damage to each other. Both will have to resort to conventional war, the outcome of which will be a loss of face for China, with India defending its border, if not wresting some place of debate from China. The conventional war aspect will be covered in my next video. I will soon be coming up with many interesting videos about India. For more strategic analysis about India, click the notification icon and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to give a like if you enjoyed my video, and please share it to your friends.